Yeah,
There's a
I
lot
mean,
that I have to
I thought it
say.
was always really interesting. We're not really going to be able to understand like this argument itself, like is evolution infallible? I just Evolution is only really applied to species that can't talk, that aren't intelligent, right? Like it guides them, like that's how they survive, right? The weak ones die, the strong ones survive, right? But we have a like it's up to us now, right? As in, we can talk about evolution, we can debate about whether or not it's infallible, right? We kind of decide our own evolution in a sense because we're the ones making the decisions for our species instead of like a million year natural process.
Do you
So I
think,
just think,
okay, Rafa, I have a question. Do you think humans
yeah.
have free will?
Oh shit. I was actually
I
gonna
mean, I just before I get into that, I just want to say I think it's going to be much easier to answer this question once we're able to study an intelligent species that's been around for like a million years, right? Let's say humans, right, survived, all these future challenges, whatever, no nuclear war, climate change is okay, and we went on to like, travel to stars. Then we would really see the impact of evolution on an intelligent species because as far as species go, we haven't really been around that long, like not enough for any real study. Um, in terms of free will, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I
yo,
mean,
okay,
I
there's bro,
Yeah,
I've got
I'll
a
pose
John.
the argument.
I'm not religious, so no.
I'll pose the
If
argument that humans don't have any free will, and I would consider myself, I would not say overly religious, but like
in a real
semi-religious.
there's
Yeah,
I think
I
there's two
think
ways of going about
predeterminism
it,
is
right? There's
at
like
least
there's like
semi-valid.
you have no free will in like a universal religious sense, right? God's written it out, right? Or you
Yeah,
have
something
like
like that.
or the answer,
Christianity
the
supports free will.
smart ass answer, which is like, oh, you are the product of your culture and your society and your parents' upbringing.
We're
So really, you have
stardust,
no
bro.
free will, because everything that you're doing has been programmed into you by your surroundings. But that's like I always
I
find that
believe that humans have an
annoying.
absolute free will, actually. So I'm a radical libertarian when it comes to
That's
What's
free
that's
will.
your
stupid. That's very
And
stupid.
actually,
what's
no, but let me explain because there's a lot
what's
that was
your
said here.
what's your wait, wait,
There's
wait,
a
what's your reasoning, Jacob?
Okay, if we were to undertake like the theory of like the Big Bang and the universe expanding and it all being made at some point, if there was some origin point whatsoever for the universe, which it poses many questions that there wasn't an origin point and the universe always existed, but to our understanding there must have been an origin point. Then every single action that has ever existed in the universe, every single thing that has happened had a cause, and it is an effect of that cause. So, I was born because my
uh,
dad like nutted into my mom, and the only reason that my dad nutted into my mom is because my grandfather nutted into my grandmother. It's like so
uh,
on, so on, so on, back to the origin of the universe. Every single action that has like ever existed as a result of a butterfly effect that started way before it. So when we think logically, there have been way more things that happened because there are several outcomes to each thing that happens. Like, let's say, like I knock over my glass. Not only does the glass break, but it makes like a loud noise. Every single time that something happens, it creates like a variety of different outcomes and choices. If we extrapolate, if we go back and back and back and back, it just reduces the amount of outcomes that happens. And because the universe is structured in a specific way, I mean, like physically, if you extrapolate, every single action that has happened and will happen, if you go back, 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 there is a cause and a reason for everything. The only reason that our brains work or think of a specific way is because of how they're made, how they're structured, how we've evolved over time. There's no such thing as free will because we don't know what's going to happen yet. But if you had like a perfect picture of the laws of gravity, of the map of our brain, of our previous experiences, of the environment surrounding us, if you had a perfect if you copy and pasted the entire universe into ChatGPT, it could with like 99.99% accuracy determine what the next thing you're going to do is because it's just determined by this amount of factors. The fact that you haven't thought of it yet does not mean that the outcome is going to be unique. Like in the
But
same way,
that
like
doesn't like
I don't know how warm, my microwave meal is going to be when I put it in the microwave. I don't know how exactly warm it's going to be, but there is like some
yeah.
factor in the universe that has like a very solid definition. Like it will get warm no matter what I do. So it's like it's
But
the process of the brain. No matter what, how much I try to think, it's going to come to the same conclusion because my thoughts are
Yeah.
all based off stuff that has happened before and the genetic environmental factors that are influencing it. I feel like
Mhm.
living life is just like watching a movie of things go down in a very specific way. But because of your environment, genetics, and different stuff that has happened beforehand, just in general, in not just a biological predeterminism way, but just because of everything that's happening around in the universe, causing a cause and a reaction, you're determined and like predetermined to think and act and do things in a very specific way.
But just
Yep.
because you can predict someone's going to do something doesn't mean that they have the choice not to
Yeah.
do it. I
If you
think the
can predict
choice
it
is
with
what
like a
defines free will. Like
99.999%
that,
accuracy,
but
Dude,
that means
that's
No,
like
because
I don't think that's that's a lack of free will. It's just like it's very predictable. But free will is defined by not having a choice,
yeah,
right?
no, I
I
think
don't
what
think
Rolf
we
is
have a
getting at
choice
is
because
that
I don't think we have like autonomy over how we think. I think it's influenced by
No,
everything around us.
no, but you do have a choice, right? You're influenced incredibly, right? But you can always choose not to, right?
no,
Like
you can't.
very simple, like a simple analogy, right? I'm very hungry. I'm gonna go to the fridge, right? Everyone could predict that, right? A toddler could predict that, right?
Yeah, but
But
I can't choose not to be
do
an
I still
idiot.
have do I still have free choice, like free will in that decision? Yeah, absolutely. Because
You
I
have
could choose
choices,
not
but
to.
it's predetermined ultimately by your neuropsychology and the physics and the chemistry in your brain, which one you will ultimately decide on. I truly believe that in like a million years, if AI gets advanced enough, it's going to have an equation that is advanced enough to predict everything that will ever happen in like the next billion years, because everything is a physical reaction to something else.
Real,
You
yeah.
understand? Yeah.
uh,
Like if I'm predetermined to be ugly as shit, then I'm not gonna get huzz. Like there are factors in our life that influence the way things end up for us, and AI can very much predict that.
I think that what Rolf was talking about though is that there's a difference between a colloquial understanding of free will, which has to do with our ability to actually make free and liberated decisions in the present moment, and the metaphysics, which is a much more fundamental topic, fundamental area of discussion. And he's probably saying that from a metaphysical level, you guys haven't really provided an argument that free will doesn't exist. I mean, because all of these claims are about individual instantiations of action, specific actions themselves, not whether or not humans have the capability in a more radical sense to act in a different way. And as I stated earlier, I'm actually a radical libertarian when it comes to free will. So I think we have an absolute free will because, well, first of all, there are many, I think, conceptual errors that are floating around here. But I don't really think that human behavior is determined by anything. I think we can actually do whatever we want from a metaphysical standpoint. And I think that
I don't
actually
think that's true.
that belief is actually compatible with a Christian belief. Because I'm not really a religious person in the sense of adhering to an actual faith,
Weren't you
some
gonna
type of
convert to
organ,
Islam?
an
Just
or
side note.
no, no, that was a weird, dumb phase. I don't really know. I've distanced myself from
Okay.
that. Yeah.
You're
And I think
becoming a
Islam's
Sufi.
nah, I think Islam's wrong about a lot. Just as I've actually learned
Yeah.
more about theology and thought more deeply about that. That was kind of a dumb phase. I don't really know what was going through my head. And remember, I actually used to be basically a diehard new atheist, which is pretty much as
Yeah, I'm
far
gonna
away from
take Jordan
it.
out for pork chops
Yeah.
sometime.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I just don't really like pork that much anyways. So actually, I wouldn't really eat it
Yeah, it's
regardless.
you were just like, oh, I
Hmm.
don't like pork that much. Let's convert to Islam.
Well, no, but I did become a vegetarian though recently. So I just don't eat meat
Yeah.
anymore anyways. So
Why?
just a variety of reasons. I just think I mean, it's a decision that's been on my mind, or it's an idea that's been on my mind for a very long time since I was 13, 14 years old. But I never really had the balls to act on it until recently. And I just think it's the right choice to make from an ethical perspective. I mean, that could be another
Okay.
debate that we can have. That
Well,
could be a
okay.
fun topic. No, but there's so
As
much that you guys threw around that I think is a little bit flawed. I think there's so many different problems here that we need to address. But first of
as
all, I
far
don't
as
believe.
metaphysics, as far as
Yeah, go ahead.
metaphysics, I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
say the basis of materialism. Read like page one, part one, first thing in fucking the Tractatus by Wittgenstein. The
Tractatus.
only thing that exists are material facts, atomic facts. Yes. So
I think
a
he's wrong about that.
reaction,
No,
really, so a reaction in the brain will cause
no,
certain nerve endings to fire, certain hormones to go off.
no, man.
Really? What do you think?
No.
What do you
Because
think
I
is
don't believe
happening?
we talked about this on the podcast with Dante. Don't you remember? This is actually the exact debate that I had, and he was also pushing for a physical stance, which I think is wrong. I think there are many logical arguments that show that it's wrong. There are tons of different ways to disprove it. I've just tried to formalize it in a more rigorous manner as of late. But we can touch on those if you like. But what I remember from that podcast that they brought it up is that you were actually more neutral at the time, I think. You didn't really take a side. So did you actually arrive at a more concrete stance about metaphysics, about these types of questions?
Yes.
And also because Platonism doesn't really align with physicalism. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
see
not
how
a
you could be.
Platonist. I'm not a
You're not a
Platonist.
Platonist? Okay.
I changed my mind.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean, your
more
bio was Platonist in the past. So that's it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay, yeah. So
yeah.
you changed that.
I used to be into Christian Platonism. I thought I went over this like the first thing in this
Yeah.
podcast,
Oh,
right,
okay. You
Jacob?
used to be into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Wait, so did you left Christianity?
Yes, because I
Oh,
was into Kierkegaard, right?
okay. Oh, so Kierkegaard got you into Christianity, yeah.
Yeah, and then I realized that that's cope, and then um,
Yeah.
but no, I'm mostly as far as so as far as most philosophy, I would say I align mostly with Schopenhauer, and then as far as metaphysics, I would say Wittgenstein, and then as far as like ethics and such, I'd say um Max Stirner, I would say, is an influence,
Oh,
but
fuck.
I'm not an anarchist. I just think he's right that
Total egoism.
you know, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
That's
everything you do is for yourself, and you can rationalize it with like morality and religion and laws, but it's completely out of self-interest and self-preservation. Following the law does not mean that you actually believe in, you know, whatever law. It means that you're self-preserving to avoid the consequences of breaking such law.
Can we please address what happened to Flying Cabal? Because
Yeah, I
you
mean,
do that for a
yeah,
year.
see, the thing is, man, I shouldn't really say it's not really the proper etiquette for me to, it's not aligned with the proper etiquette for me to say too much about the entire situation and
We're
all of
not
that.
gonna say too
But I'll
much.
say
Flying
that he's
Cabal
not really,
left. Has everybody listening realized that yet? By the fact that he hasn't been a podcast episode for a year. He left. He's gone. He left in
I think
September
what was his
2026.
what was his last episode? I think with
It
JF.
was like number 4 or number 5.
Wasn't it with JF?
Yeah, it
Gary
was.
P?
It was.
Over a year ago, a year and a half. That's
Yeah.
fucking crazy. No, I'm not gonna say too much because he wouldn't like that. It's not gonna be right for me.
Founding member though.
Yeah, he should be in our vicinity if we're to say anything about him. But to go back to Pearson, to what you're saying, dude, I think okay, so there are areas in which I disagree with you. In my views, I mean, I've gone through so many transformations over the years that, and actually, it's funny that we're talking about this because I haven't even been in this headspace for so long. I mean, there was a
Mhm.
period of my life in which I was much more intensely ideological and I was obsessed with, I was one of those fucking political compass nerds. Remember political compass memes? This
Yeah, I
subreddit,
remember
bro,
that.
that was some shit. And that's a part of why I was such good friends with Flying Kabbalah because we were both into that type of shit and then Destiny and the debate bro culture and all of that. And that's how I found out about guys like Eric Stryker and yeah, it's an entire fucking rabbit hole, bro. I think
Eric
Pearson,
Striker's a fucking idiot, by the way. He's a fucking
yeah.
idiot.
Dude,
I
did you see
can't
what
stand
happened?
I can't
I mean,
stand
I
his
don't.
fucking laugh. Have you ever heard his laugh? It's like if you like Tucker Carlson, if you've ever listened to him, his laugh pisses me off. But
Dude,
Eric
I fucking
Stryker's
hate
is
his
like
laugh, bro.
the same fucking laugh times 10. He's like, it's like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Tucker
Shut
Carlson's
the
laugh
fuck
really
up.
is annoying though.
Yeah,
It's like
hold on.
Bro, Tucker Carlson is just, yeah. He went fucking
He's a
schizo,
fed.
bro. Did you see that he said that he got attacked by
What?
demons
What is the
in his
future
sleep?
that these liberals want for America? My wife is currently in a bed with another man. What happened? What led to this?
He's kind of
Did you see that
though.
he said that he got attacked by demons in his sleep and that he's scared for his life? No, bro, that's what he's been talking about as of late. He just went
Jordan,
full, yeah, he went full fucking schizo. It's insane. And he talked to a
Jordan,
dude.
check the chat.
What is this, bro?
I sent my political compass results.
Yeah, I'm in the same
Oh
quadrant. I see
shit.
it.
This takes me so back, bro. Wait, is this oh my God. The nostalgia buzz is just kicking in. It's Sapley Valleys too, bro. You had to pick the more niche one. It couldn't be a fucking
Yeah, because
plebeian
it makes more
It has the
sense. It makes
conservative
more sense.
progressive meter, which the normal compass doesn't account for.
Yeah. Oh man, we
Yeah.
really must have gone down the same rabbit holes. But yeah, anyways, so what I think, okay, they failed to I think they fail to understand. We can talk about, bro. There's so much funny shit with Eric Striker. There's too
Yeah.
much to say. I don't, not that much of it is YouTube friendly, just because he's literally his entire existence is like a fuck you to YouTube and
I don't know
that
who this
Mhm.
man
sphere.
is. I don't.
You
I
don't
don't
know
know who
Eric
this man
Striker,
is.
bro?
No.
Dude, how do you not? Actually, you know what? I don't know. It's not really a big deal. You're not really wasting any time. You haven't really missed out on that much, except for some funny drama. But anyways, to get back to the more serious discussion before the shit talking of Eric Striker, I think what they missed in your entire line of argumentation was
Mhm.
or what you were trying to hint at was this argument. I don't necessarily completely agree with it, but I do think that this is probably what you were trying to communicate, even if they didn't fully understand it, is that
Yeah,
when
please
you
repeat
think
that
about
10 times. Get it
when
to the
you
point.
think
Yeah.
about morality, which is the fundamental question, because I do think that in some sense ethics is actually the most important branch of philosophy, if you think of philosophy as an organized endeavor, and that underlies pretty much everything that we do. So whenever we talk about politics and whenever we talk about policy, oftentimes we just say that this policy would be bad and this policy would be good, or this candidate would be better than an alternative candidate, and so on and so forth. And that divide is what leads to polarization, the very intense polarization that you see not only in America but in many different societies throughout history. That's the fundamental driver of historical conflict, I think, and social conflict. It's basically disagreements over not just ideology, but on the more granular level, what we should do in individual decisions. And I think that's actually what all of life is. So to me, human history and human lives on the individual level. And this is actually a really Spenglerian point. Pearson, I don't know if you got on the Spengler, but he actually writes
A
about
little
this
bit.
exact point in books like Decline of the West. I mean, he was trying to use more poetic language, obviously, but he basically, and he was, it's somewhat metaphorical, but there's definitely a direct truth that's embedded within that metaphor, which is that human history is basically it's not necessarily a direct series of events that just embedded in some past that's out there that's detached from us. It's actually more of a narrative that we're retroactively constructing in real time, and we tell it to ourselves because it aligns basically with our psychology and with our tendency towards narrativizing, towards myth making. So really the
Yeah.
idea of history is actually just that, an idea. Without that idea, all that there is just static events with no pattern, no meaning, no order. But history is just how we organize all of that, everything that's happening to our past into a narrative. So it's really up to the ideological players at hand to actually mold the idea of history. And human life is the same way. So all that human life is basically, well, technically it's just a series of events, and you could say that the events are basically random. But then on top of that series, we layer on ideas about meaning, about struggle, about purpose, about what we should do in our life, why life has value, why I did this yesterday instead of this. And politics and history are literally just the same. They're just scaled upwards. It's basically just one long debate about what we should do in life and what's good in life. It's like a debate bro's dream in a sense. It's just a wet dream of the debate bros. And all of that presupposes morality. So whenever it's and
Mhm.
even art as well, I don't really think that aesthetics is actually completely disconnected from morality. Because when we make judgments about the quality of aesthetic objects or whether or not objects are even aesthetic in the first place, we're really saying we're talking about whether or not they're good or bad, basically. I mean, we're talking about whether or not they please us or displease us, unless you take a different, more metaphysical approach to aesthetics that isn't grounded in empirical perception. But even Nietzsche made that point. He said that, we react differently to the death of a beautiful butterfly or of a beautiful animal than that of an ugly animal. And you can obviously apply that to many different parts of life. So I think aesthetics and morality are intertwined. That's the fundamental subject. So I would actually prefer, in some sense, if before we even talked about anything else, we just went straight into metaethics. And I think when it comes to metaethics, there isn't really a better school of thought than analytic philosophy. You have to be as logically rigorous as possible and even a little bit autistic, to be honest, to actually understand what it is that we're talking about when we talk about ethics, about the difference between right and wrong, and where that actually comes from. So there isn't really a topic that's more fundamental than that. And what Pearson, I think, was trying to get at, I mean, obviously you can provide your own assessment because you're the person who said this. And again, I don't completely agree with it. I'm just trying to work out a better understanding of his position because I think most people sorely misunderstand what ethno-nationalists actually believe in, even though I'm not an ethno-nationalist. I don't advocate for that position entirely. I think it has its pros, but also has its cons. Is that okay? When you think about morality, we generally agree that, or this is what I think Pearson was trying to say, we generally agree that we should probably avoid or refrain from certain behaviors like torturing others, killing others, robbing others, except under very, very particular and fine-tuned circumstances. But that doesn't mean that the extent of our moral obligations applies equally with respect to all individuals on Earth. So you might actually have more of an obligation to help someone who's closer to you than you have to someone who's much farther away from you. And that's why,
Mhm.
and that ties into the more empirical account, which is people tend to be much more deeply attached to their families